Hi, everybody. It's Friday. Okay, so I'm almost done with my book. Yeah, In a Pit with the Lion on a Snowy Day. So I'm almost done with it. So what have I learned so far out of this book? It's all about chasing lions. It even has can't remember what verse or scripture it is, but it refers to Lucifer as a lion that devours and divides and stuff like that. Rips apart, that kind of like thing. But the book is based on Benya, which Benya was Beninya. His name is spelled Beniah. It's quite interesting because he's the main, pretty much the main character of the book. How he stormed in, and in this cave on a snowy day and defeated this lion. In other words, it's like facing our fears, going after our fears. What fears us in life we go after to like kind of like kill it, to get rid of that fear. It's pretty interesting because they show they talk about King David, which I think Benya ended up being the commander-in-chief of King David's army. So you got King David who took out Goliath, right? The giant Goliath, the giant with the slingshot. And then it talks about the roles that these people, to get to these people, where they got to, is because it's like saying starting out in life, Benya, um, it shows that he was defeating a lot of other, I think 600 Palestinians or something like that. But I think that's after he become commander in chief. But it's or there's other people that they use in there, about how they're facing their fears, they're tackling their fears, they're preparing their fears, or how people go through life, and we're doing what we want to do, what we think that we should be doing in life, but as soon as we open up to God and realize that God has another plan, so then we have a fear of stopping what we're doing and changing directions, the fear of starting something new, the fear of quitting something, the fear of, just that type of thing. It's all about conquering our lions, right? So it's like, just had a brain fart. It's about going after those things instead of just say something bad come out and so, like I was thinking today, about different type of examples. It would be like cancer. Someone got cancer. Instead of us fearing that, because the majority is going fear mode, and then the only thing we think about is all the negative. Uh, instead of fearing it, just tackle and say, "Aha! I'm going to capture this lion. I'm going to kill this lion." Right? And that's learning how to change our diet, or what created it. Is discovering what caused that cancer. Was it our emotions? Was it our stress? And start doing the things to correct that. Like saying you're killing this disease or whatever is bothering you. You're killing the fear of something, or you're killing the fear of death. Conquer it. That's pretty much why I don't fear death anymore, because I think I've told you guys this a long time ago, that I had a vision to where I was laying in bed, and this guy that I really wanted to meet and date, his name was Gabriel, and I was getting ready to break it off anyway because it was a long distance online thing. It was kind of messed up, but it was a lesson I learned during that time. Um, Next thing you know, in my vision, um, I was laying next to him in bed and I was floating up and I was looking down at myself and I seen myself laying there and then I seen him next to me and he immediately rolled over and started shaking me and screaming, Casey, Casey, you can't go now, you can't go now. And I was watching this whole thing happen and I remember at that moment as I'm floating up above my body and watching this all happen, I'm just like, God, I can't go now. We just met. But that's quite interesting about that vision that I had because it was probably not even a month or two after that I broke it off with her. I just totally cut everything off because it was like God just started flooding in information. He's a user. He's fake. He's not this. He's this. And it really opened up my eyes, right? And then, God telling me that, I'm your true love. So it's one of those things where I had to conquer. I had to realize that, there's nothing. And I know this may sound kind of weird to some people, but this is like on my spiritual journey to where how we're like John Doe's, right? Or Jane Doe, because our root chakra is the sound of do, do, then it goes re, mi, fa. Or they have the deer, like the reindeer, right? The buck doe and uh, the female doe, the buck deer and the female doe. But then John Doe means um, no name, right? Nameless. Um, God said He'd give us a new name in our new heaven, new earth, and only He will know what that name is. Um, it's really quite pretty interesting because when we come into this world and this reality, and when we're born into it, we're born with a name. I mean, it's like I was saying yesterday about the Esau and Jacob, how Jacob tricked Esau by because Esau was thirsty at one time, and he had to swear to give up his rights, his firstborn rights, and then the second time he tricked him, by from his to get the blessings of the kingdom. And then when we look at Sasquatch is human-like. He's just hairy all over. And that's what I was saying about being born into this world to where we are not, our coat doesn't protect us in this environment of this world. But Esau, who is Sasquatch, who's completely hairy, like a gorilla or an ape, or that has a coat, was born with the coat on. We're not born with the coat on. And I think that could be part of the mystery, that's written in Scripture to solve. Anyway, but I've been learning so much here lately, and then reflecting on my life about conquering fears. And here's another example. When I was going into the military when I was young, first time leaving home or whatever, I didn't know what I was getting into. I didn't know what it was going to be like. I had to sign a contract for 3.5 years. I'm like, okay, I can't do anything. I can't get out of it. Once I do that, of course, I can go AWOL, but I would never do that because my ego would never allow that. And but I just got excited and thought to myself, new adventure, but I was still scared. I didn't know what to do. So I had, I was always constantly praying to God. And then after boot camp was almost over, the company commander said, well, we have 2 spots open in Hawaii, Barbers Point, Hawaii right now. 2 of you out of this whole class, which there was about 60 of us in this class, boot camp. He goes, there'll be 2 of you in here that's going to get those orders. And I remember praying every night, as much as I can, all day long. Please let it be me and Chad. Please, Chad and I, Chad's the one I met up in at the do boot camp. So he went from Portland with me to boot camp, through the whole process. So it was like from day one when I met him when we all started getting together and being flown places. That's how I met him. And then through the whole 4 years, and then next thing you know, when it come time to giving the orders, Chad and I were the ones picked to go to Hawaii. And then at first I was like, oh, I can't believe it. And then I knew from that point on, I really knew in my heart that God was with me through this whole thing. And so I did. Every time that there was something that I wanted to do or anything, or I needed protection with, that I was in like fear mode, especially when we were flying over the war zones and stuff, because you can hear the bullets hitting on the side of the plane. Dong. And you're like, oh no, that's so close. But it's all those kind of things, and then going through your life and noticing the changes. And then I started going through my grade school up through my high school and noticing all those changes and experiences. Going from grade school to high school, and you got that fear, right? And how I made it to that. So, kind of rambling on here, aren't I? But anyway, so that's pretty much what this book's about, is chasing after those fears. And it also talks about our IQ. We use our IQ about 25% of the time, but we use our EQ, our emotional brain, about 75% of the time, which makes sense because our emotion is our right side of our brain, which deals with our senses, all of our senses, right? Well, our sixth sense, the one sense is right here, but our right side would be 5 and sixth sense. But anyway, I'm going to see if I can finish up my book today and do a little bit of grocery shopping and then head home and chill out. So you guys all have a great Friday night, and I'll take my walk today too. Got to do my walk before I leave the park area. Yeah. My thighs have been hurting, so I think it's those M flares that have been happening like constantly here lately. Because I know for the last 3 days that my thighs have been tossing and turning, and kind of interesting, and being forced up. And that's why I'm just gonna say it's about 12 to about 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm being forced to get up because if I lay down, it's like my legs are just hurting and cramping. So I get up and sit up and watch videos and doodle or whatever, and then about 3 o'clock comes around. It's like the pain kind of goes away a little bit, and I go lay down for like a couple hours, and then just start right back up again. But I don't know. It's pretty bizarre. It's energy. I know that because I started when I was sitting there yesterday. I started getting these like shock waves. And what I mean by shock waves is like, when you go into the doctor's office and they hit you with that rubber thing right by your knee, on your kneecap or right below your kneecap. How they tap on it and see that reflex kind of thing. And you feel that, you'll feel a really funny feeling in your leg, like a little shock kind of thing. That's what it kept feeling. My leg kept just out of the blue, just sitting there diddling, and all of a sudden, out of the blue, my leg goes doop, doop, doop. I'm like, oh. And then I reached down because it's just such a weird feeling that it's kind of irritating. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. But anyway, you guys have a great, wonderful weekend. I'll probably do another video, upload another video just to chat away. Do some chatting. Chattanooga choo-choo.